Hello? Oh, I don't know. Hey guys, nice to see you, nice. So hi guys, welcome to Livestream. If this is the first time that you've been on Livestream before, then I shall tell you how it works. You can ask me questions through through Skype, which is Lisa Cairns 12. And you can call in through Skype as well, but if you do, please make sure that you've got a headset. Otherwise, the audio can be bad. And just send me a message on Skype. You can send anything. If you want to come to an event of mine, the next events that I'm doing are in India, which is in January and February, and you can find all that on my website. I think I've put quite a lot on my website in the last week. Let me have a look. I just have to pull up my website. So if you want to come to an event, I'm going to India for January and February. So a retreat in Tiruvannamalai, the 13th to 20th of January. I'm doing open talks the 6th to 12th of January, the 24th to 30th of January, and the 2nd to the 8th of February. And that's in Rishikesh, Goa, and Tiruvannamalai. You can find about that. I'm also doing talks in Berlin and Swansdorf in Germany, which is north on the Baltic Sea, I think. That's the 23rd. I'm doing the talk in Stoft. And the 29th and 30th of March are in Berlin. So that's a Friday and a Saturday night, and you can find that on my website. And I'm also doing an Easter retreat in southern Spain, the 18th to the 25th of April. So that's over the Easter break. That is all so far. That is all on my website, so you can find that in the link below or above, or to the right, or no, to the left, to the right, or to the right, to the left. And that is all, I think. I always like to sit in silence for the beginning of my talk. Oops. Sorry if that was catching a little. Just resetting my camera settings, they're not quite right. Pow. Just set it for European. There you go. So I always like to sit in silence for the first part of the talk. Hello. That was beautiful. I enjoyed that. Thank you for sitting with me, even though you are totally invisible. I'm not invisible to you, but you are invisible to me. Although I have been asked before if I can see people. So some people have asked me if I can see them. So they're sitting there with their hair done, all nicely dressed, not wearing their pajamas because they were thinking that I could see them, but I can't see you. You could see me, but I can't see you. But I think that was in the olden days when I first started streaming. It's not happened for quite a long time. It's very low quality tonight. I don't know why that is, but the way it is. I shall shut down this window. So, can you ever find home in something that moves? Obviously not, because you're going to have it and then you're going to lose it. So if you're looking for home in a relationship, in money, in a circumstance, in a situation, it's not going to work because you're not going to keep it. So it's never going to work out for you if you try to find it in something. The only place you can ever find home is in that which is always here. Otherwise it wouldn't truly be home. It would be home that you paid for, that is dependent on something, is dependent on money, or is dependent on others, or is dependent on a circumstance. So what is it that you're truly looking for? You're truly looking for security in life, or a security that's beyond life. But maybe you're still in the game where you still believe that in life it will bring you some form of security in doing this or in doing that, and none of it will ultimately bring you security because it will come and go. The only security there is what never leaves. And what is it in your experience that never leaves? What is it that's always here? And the answer is so brilliant because it's everything. Everything is always here. What's happening, what is what's always here. This is what's always here, and this isn't separate from you. It's happening in you, as you. When you identify with the person, you believe that you're a solid object, that you're somebody inside the body, and you're in relationship with all other objects. And that's so much suffering because you and the other objects are constantly changing and evolving and moving together and moving apart and forming into something else. Who you are is that I am presence. And the empty looking, and the I am presence doesn't have anything to do with the I. Some teachers say that, just forget what other teachers say for the moment. And this I, and listen to what's being said here, and this I am presence doesn't belong to anyone. It's not that you are and you can see it. There is existence, and that existence isn't separate from anything. That love of what you are isn't separate from anything. It is all things, and it is who you are. This is who you are, and this is love. You are not in relationship to anything. Everything is you. You are. This is. And it's the same with the looking. There is no looking that's happening inside of the body. The looking is everywhere and everything. And that's who you truly are. And that looking is so free. It's not a size, it's not a shape, it's not dependent on how much you earn or how much stress or no stress you have or how many kids you have or if you're in prison or if you're free or if you live in Timbuktu or on the moon, in a hot country, a cold country, a right-wing country, a left-wing country, a socialist country, a communist country, capitalist country. It has nothing to do with any of that. It has nothing to do with how much you have or what is happening. Your freedom is your essence, and it's total love, and that's security. Knowing who you are is security. Everything else will leave. Everything else will come and go. It doesn't mean that on the human level you don't enjoy things and you don't have things, but none of them are your freedom. Your freedom is your essence. In a way, seeing this means you can have lots and lots of things because there's no real concern about losing them. If you're somebody that's attached to things, having lots of things is very stressful. You're like, oh, where are my things? I must look after them. You are free. Your essence is free. That which listens to me is free. That which breathes is free. Which bumps the heart is free. Which produces these words is free. It's life speaking. It's life listening. It's not you, a limitation. The limitation, the idea of you, doesn't exist. It's an idea that comes and goes and kind of holds on to things and then lets go and hold on and lets go, and none of that is you. You're not a thought, you're not a feeling, you're not emotion, you're not an idea, you're not a behavior, you're not a way of being, you're not a story, you're not a past event or a future event. You are this presence, this alive presence, and and it's happening spontaneously, and it's wild, and it's free, and it's doing what it wants, and it's love. And it doesn't matter, nothing matters. Nothing matters here. It doesn't matter if you think you've got problems, you haven't. They'll sort themselves out. There'll be a problem and then they won't, and then there'll be a big problem and a little problem and a medium problem. And it'll be painful or not painful, and then it will pass and something else will appear, and then that will be either pleasurable or painful. You hope for the pleasure, but if it's the pain, it's the pain. That it's not about that. Life's not about that. Life is about what's happening, the detail of what's happening. Your bum on the seat, your hands on the table, the eyes, the sound of my voice. It's about this. You're never going to find it in what you think. Even if you're thinking about non-duality, you're like, how do I get there? What do I do? Yes, but you're not going to find it there. What else is happening? What's here and present and free? The sense of existence and this empty looking, that's what's always here. No matter what you've experienced, no matter where you've been, it's always been this sense of empty looking and this sense of being. And it's never arrived here, it's always been here, and everything else has come and gone in here. Time doesn't really exist. Time is something that comes and goes in this. It's all happening in this. So say if you watch the movement of my arm, really there is nothing happening. So when the arm's here, the only reason that you know it's moved because the imagination is filling it all in. So you can imagine that it was up here and that it's moved to here, and then you think we've gone through time. There was a past time that has now disappeared, and we've ended up here, and we're here. And we have been through time and we've arrived here. But actually what's happening is it's always here. And then there's imagination of all these other places where the hand's been. And then you think that time has passed that wasn't you, and it's in the past and didn't belong to you, and is something other and has happened to you, and you're inside this body and you're here, and time is going past you, or you're going through time and through a world, but you're not. You're always here. You're everything that appears, including me. You're me. You're the wall, but not on an egotistical level, not on the person that's like, I am God and I have a Messiah complex and I am in control and it's me that's in control. I don't mean it like that. I mean it in a total, humble, innocent, beautiful way. The person isn't God. The person isn't the controller. The person is a puppet played out by God, which is you, but it's invisible and you're not in control consciously. You're just creating. You just are it, creating. Beautifully, wonderfully, innocently, freely. Have I convinced you? Who would you have convinced? If you leave with something from what I say, then you're missing what I say, because who would leave with something I say? Who's got something? Who knows something? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this presence that's here that knows nothing, that knows but knows nothing. It's conscious, but it knows nothing. It's free. It doesn't know anything. And then the thinking mind goes, yes, but I know that she's speaking. Not that mind. I'm not talking to that mind. What's beyond that? What's always here? And that's this recognition that this is. And then the thinking mind is something that comes and goes in this. The thinking mind makes sense and says, she's speaking, I'm listening. But that's not who I'm talking to. What's beyond that? What else is there? What else is happening? And God is love. Who you are is love, this innocent love that loves its whole creation. Everything. Everything. The good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, the boring, the happy, the sad, everything. It loves for no reason. It's unconditioned. It just loves. It just is. It's just there, vibrating in the background, not judging, totally innocent of judgment. I love this subject. I love it. I love it. I love speaking about it with people. It's so beautiful. And this is not meant to be disempowering for the person. If the person's feeling disempowered, then the person is personalizing this message. It's meant to be talking to beyond the person. We can speak about the person. I am not opposed to speaking about the person and how to help you. But this message, non-duality, isn't about helping you, because who would it help? It's not about reconditioning you. It's not about you leaving with better ideas. But I can give you better ideas and better ways to live and easier ways to live. But it's not about that. It is not about that. I was just trying to see if I could work out, say it in French, but I cannot. I love you, baby. Okay, let's see if there's any questions. I'm concerned that this is rubbing tonight. Maybe I take this off. My beautiful jacket. Hello, hi Anastasia, hi Bia, hi Carmela, hey Isabel, hey IR, hi Lisa, hi Leave, hi Lisa. How would you explain the word spiritual or spirituality? I don't know. I don't know really what that means. I just use it. I don't know what that means to me. I just use the word because other people use it. Non-duality comes in spirituality and a lot of the healing stuff and things that I've learned. This comes under the title of spirituality. Just becomes like one of those words that you use to clump things in. I don't think I have a particular relationship to it I can think of. The spirit wants to speak. So the spirit, so maybe that's why we call this spirituality, because life, the spirit wants to speak. It wants to speak about these subjects, and even though you might think it's this body that's speaking, it's not this body that's speaking. There is nobody here speaking. It just looks like there's somebody here speaking. Just looks like Lisa's speaking because it comes with all her personality, but there's nobody there speaking either or hearing me. It just, in your mind, ideas come up claiming it. So spirituality, maybe they first called it spirituality because the spirit wants to speak, meaning the spirit being the essence wants to speak. Even though it's always the essence speaking, it goes through this filter of looking like it's somebody speaking. Maybe in spirituality, it's the place where that somebody moves out of the way and then the essence comes through and says these truths. Life wants these truths spoken. That aren't truths. Truths that aren't truths. Hi, Ida. Ida Catherine, hiya. Hi Anastasia, who is Lisa, could you explain how the body is moving? Who's moving? How does it move on command? Who's listening? It's so confusing when I start paying close attention to it. I think it's one of the main reasons of body identification, the sense that we can move our bodies as opposed to rest of what's happening, which is not controlled by me. Yeah, so it feels like inside the body it comes with this command. You say, okay, I put my attention inside, so I put it in my heart area, I put it in my throat area, I put it in my head, I put it in the top of my head, I put it in my hands, I put it on what Lisa's saying, I lift my hand. But actually, how do you lift your hand? So there's this lifting happening, there's this movement happening, but how are you doing that? And actually it's total mystery. You don't know how you're doing that, but there's a voice inside you that's telling you you're doing it. You're moving your hand now. And then just before you move it, you can pick up your hand and then the movement happens. So there's a voice that's describing to you what's happening. It's describing the process of choice. So you can make a choice between moving your hand or not moving your hand. I'm going to not move my hand. So there's a voice that's describing choice to you and the appearance and the illusion of choice, and there's a voice that's telling you what you've done or what you're going to do. But actually in the very moment of it, even though it feels like you're moving and there's a voice that's telling you you're moving, how are you doing that? How does that happen? Who's doing it? And that's the wrong assumption. If you really look at your experience, there's nobody moving. There's nobody that picks the choice to move the hand. And also it's happening too quickly. So in speaking now, like I couldn't possibly choose to speak. It's just coming out. It's just coming. I'm not sitting in here thinking, what should I say to her? How should I answer her? It just comes. And even if I did, that just comes. But where does it come from? Does it come from a centralized person that's like, she's going to say this now and that now? The actual experience is it comes from nowhere. It comes from no place, which by default means it's every place. By default, it means it's everywhere. So it comes from this mysterious place that cannot be found, and yet it's happening. That's your direct experience. This is being moved. This body is being moved, but you don't know how. Your mind just tells you that you're moving it. I'm moving it. But so often it's moving and you're not even telling yourself to do it. It just feels like you. It feels like you. And then you say the rest of the world doesn't move because I don't command it. But and in a way that's true. Oh, that hurt. In a way that's true. It doesn't move because you don't command it. But actually you don't know what you're doing. You don't know the way it's happening. Like in your dream at night, in your dream at night, you dream as if you're that character looking at the dream. So you're walking around a dream at night and you're looking at the world and you're like, oh, I'm going to go and buy a chocolate bar. Even though you're not thinking about that in your bed, you're not thinking I'm a person in my bed dreaming this dream unless you're lucid dreaming. But in the dream, you're thinking, oh, I've got to run away from this person, or I'm going to go and do this, or I'm going to go and do that. So it feels like in your dream, that person is controlling this inside world and is controlling where you go and what you do. And it feels like there is a separate world outside of you that's actually acting independently. But actually, it's all being created by the one that's in bed. the one that's laying asleep in bed, but it's being created by that one that's laying asleep in bed unconsciously. It's just being spontaneously created by your imagination. And you're dreaming that you're somebody inside the dream that's looking at the dream, and you're independent and you've got free will, and that you can choose to do this or that, and that the world is happening separate from you and isn't your choice. And that's how it's happening here. So actually who you are is actually choosing to move the rest of the world in the way it does. It's just that you're not conscious of it on the human level, and you believe that you're the human. It's actually creating everything. But just like the dream at night, it's spontaneously creating it. So it doesn't feel like you're consciously creating it. It just feels like it's a happening. It's a happening. But it is your dream. All of it. You're so used to thinking you're victim to it, that you're in relationship to this scary dream, but it's just feelings. It's just feelings. And then as your feelings change, as they loosen up, and you as the human begin to feel different things, then your external world begins to look different. Your dream begins to change because they're related. So like you don't at night dream that you're really scared of something, and you're sitting in a toffee shop. It could be that you're dreaming that you're afraid of toffees, but normally you dream there's a monster around to be scared of. And it's the same in this dream. As your dream becomes more peaceful, then the external becomes more peaceful. So as that human becomes more peaceful, then the external becomes more peaceful, because you're not going to be making really complex, difficult decisions anymore. You're going to be more than likely opting for the simple life, the more simple things. Mind-blowing. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Hi, Buddha. Oh, merci. Bonjour, Buddha. Hi, surely if there is no self, or bonsoir, Buddha, there's no experience happening. There is experiencing happening, but for nobody. And there is also no experience happening too, because it's happening and it's not happening. Like it's real and it's unreal, it's empty and it's full. It's both sides of that. But there is experiencing happening. Consciousness is experiencing, but you maybe mix the personal self and consciousness up together. So you think that when I say there is no self, that then consciousness disappears too. Consciousness and the dream come together. They're one and the same thing. So the dream is self-conscious, the things are self-conscious, but there's nothing that's experiencing it. So it's nothing and it's everything. Hang on, just let me, I'm just checking that the internet's working, because it looked on Skype like it is stopping working, but I think it's working fine. So you imagine that what I'm saying is that it all goes black out and consciousness disappears as well. consciousness, the big consciousness, not personal awareness, not the person that says, oh, I can move my attention up to the sky, I can move it to the floor, I can put it inside, outside. I mean the recognition. Right now when I'm speaking, there is a recognition that's totally innocent of the chair, of the wall, of my hands, of the voice. And you're not doing that. The personal awareness is doing an activity. The personal awareness is focusing on things and interpreting things. But the consciousness is instantly hearing my voice, instantly knowing my voice without knowing it intellectually. It's knowing the computer, the room, the colors instantly, but not the colors by name. It's just recognizing everything that's appearing. And that happens instantly with all things. And the consciousness is actually in the things. The consciousness is my voice. The consciousness is the table. It is the computer. It is the chair. It is the wall. The same with the I am. But what happens is you think you're conscious as a human, and you think if there is no self, then there's no consciousness and there's nothing happening. And that's not true. Some people say there is no consciousness because there's no consciousness of. And they also might be referring to personal awareness, but everything is inherently conscious of itself. It knows itself, and this is who you are, this instantaneous consciousness and sense of being, the sense of existence. And that's what's always here, and it is in all things. And it's not happening inside the body. It's looking through the body. It's looking from that particular angle, but it's not connected to the body. It's not locked inside the body. It doesn't belong to someone inside the body. So when you say, if there is no you, there's no experience happening, there's nobody that experiences anything, but there is consciousness. But when the body dies, there is no longer awareness of being. It seems to be a product of the neurons from the brain. And the body, no. When the body dies, there is still consciousness. There is still consciousness. There is still life that goes on. Life isn't dependent because of the body. What dies in death is your body, is your sense of self, is your stories of you. When there is no body, there is no recognition though. No. That's not true. That's your assumption. Your belief is the body comes first and then there's consciousness. That's what we're deeply ingrained and we deeply believe, but actually consciousness comes first and then the body comes. And then the things come. So consciousness and that I am, whether consciousness is experiencing nothing or experiencing things, is irrelevant, but you can only remember to the beginning of your body, and you think you're alive, and you think that you got consciousness when you were born and it belongs to you. But it's not that way, it's the other way around. When there is no body, there is no recognition though. Nope, there is recognition. Hey Lisa, thank you for your support. Hi, Ungarus. Could you explain more about staying with the feelings of beingness? When I'm sitting in a classroom or in a public place, often comes a feeling of anger with it, and when the effort to try to stay in the beingness is gone, there is great relief. And how important is it to always feel the sense of beingness? Thank you. Thank you. Can I just ask your age, please, when you say you're in the classroom? Do you mean, could I ask your age? Like, are you a teacher or a student? Hi, Quella. Hi, Qalia. Hi, Lisa. Could you please describe differences between spontaneity in ordinary life, spontaneity in art, creativity, spontaneity in everything empty looking? Well, I don't know. spontaneity in ordinary life, if you mean ordinary life as like somebody that's identified, then it's not spontaneity as such. Even it's going through the filter of you, and you want to be a particular way, so you're always managing and controlling your experience. So there's not a pureness coming out, there is somebody in there trying to manage their experience. So you're not really laughing, you're laughing because you want to look like a person in a certain way, or you're not really like fully talking, you're fully talking trying to be somebody. You're like attached to everything, you're attached to the seeking pattern of trying to find home in yourself. So you're attached to yourself and you're trying to make yourself a solid entity and something that exists a particular way. So that's not really spontaneity. That's sort of spontaneity going through a filter of somebody trying to be something, which is okay. And then when people are creating art, often they forget themselves. So they get so lost in what they're doing, they're so involved in it, they forget about trying to be somebody. And they just lose all sense of being that somebody, and they go for it. And then they say, I didn't create it, God did. Happens to you if you're like cycling or driving a car, you completely forget you're doing it and it's just a happening. It's on automatic. And that's what the whole of life is. It's totally empty. There's nobody doing anything. It's a lie that you are. And when it feels like it's your life, then it becomes heavy and hard to cope with. Everything is empty. There's nobody doing any of it. It's happening. It's totally, utterly empty. And that's exactly what you wanted. There isn't anybody having an experience. There is just experiencing happening and creating happening. The suffering comes when you claim it as yours. And it doesn't mean that when you're creating your art, you aren't artist in your category. So say if you paint like expressionism art, it doesn't mean that you start creating some other type of art. And even if it's expressionism art, you've been training in it and learning and understanding about it for 20 years, that's not what I'm talking about. It's not that body hasn't had conditioning to paint in a certain way, but it's like you totally dissolve into that craft. And like driving, I'm not saying that you just get into a car without knowing how to drive and you just spontaneously know how to drive. I'm not implying that. It's a habit that the body's been taught. But it's like totally sinking into those habits in a way and totally being the character 100%. So it's also not about being a perfect person without issues. It's having issues, but being 100% those issues. I know that sounds crazy because everyone else tells you have to heal yourself, and often you do have to heal the person to an extent, but then it's like dropping into it. And if you've got a fear of snakes, then it's being totally afraid of snakes. It's like being 100% afraid of snakes and not trying to hold up this image of someone that's brave and strong and not afraid of a snake. It's like, like a child. It's like that childlike innocence of being yourself, forgetting yourself, and then just being the way the character is, but there's nobody being it. It's just expressing. It's like, it's not even like it's on autopilot because that implies something. It's just a happening. Thank you for your question. Hey, William. Hey, Lisa. I read this non-duality joke online. I wanted to see if you get it and if you could make some sense of it for us. What is red and at the same time invisible? No tomatoes. Ah, yeah. You know, yeah, I don't get it. I am 23, a student. Okay, so I can speak to you. I apologize, people. If you are under the age of 18, then I cannot speak to you. Could you explain more about staying with feelings of beingness? So who is it that's staying with feeling of beingness? I'm not suggesting that's not a good practice, but that practice is for you and about you becoming something else than what you are. And I'm not saying don't do that, because that's way better than, you know, trying to be a perfect student or trying to, you know, be all these things. It's a way healthier thing to do. But who is this person that wants to stay with beingness? And how can a person stay with beingness? A person is always in time, and beingness is timeless. So how exactly can that person stay with beingness? It's like an idea that you've got about you improving to something better, which is 100% great. It's great to evolve. All of us are evolving. I'm evolving. I strive to evolve and get better at things. But that is about you doing something, you becoming more calm, you becoming more present, you not attaching to so many issues. And I recommend that, but I recommend it with the information, who is this you that's staying with beingness? That you doesn't exist, that you is an illusion. But while it's there, it can play, and it can play this game of becoming a better you. And I recommend tidying the cage, I recommend helping yourself. But who can stay with beingness? Beingness is timeless, you is in time. But how about the seeking energy of the separate self? When the idea of a separate self drops, then there is no urge to do anything. No, that's a lie. There is a natural flow of doing that happens. There's a natural impulse to do things. Seeking is a dynamic that's based on, I will become happy in the future. I'm going to make home in the future. So I'm going to make it to my home in the future. And that is always this tight energy that comes from a dissatisfaction, a belief that you are somebody and that you've got to arrive somewhere in order to relax, to make it. And that will never happen. Home is here. But underneath all of that, there's a natural impulse to move and to do things and to survive, to eat, to laugh, to play. It doesn't just want to sit on the sofa all day. But it's a more healthy and balanced way of being, because you're not always looking for relief in the future. You're not always thinking, I'm going to get there. You aren't concerned about time moving. Like, I even forget about teaching that, because it doesn't even occur to me to wish for it to be a different moment than it is. Even if it's painful, even if what I'm experiencing is painful, I'm never waiting for tomorrow. It's always as it is. This is enough. I'm never looking forward to something else happening. This is enough. Even when it's painful. I might say, oh, I'm looking forward to this passing or something, but at the same time, it doesn't even make sense. This is what is, and this is all there's going to be, and this is everything. And there's no place you're going to arrive. But when you're a seeker, you're always like, I'm going to arrive. I'm going to get there. I'm going to make it. I'm going to be enlightened in the future. And you're doing your job or you're doing your work, waiting to arrive, but there's nowhere to arrive to. You wash the towels become dirty again. You wash the towels, they become dirty again. You do this, you have children, and then this happens, and then you want this and you want that, and you're never going to get there. Any dream you have, you're never going to get there. It doesn't mean you don't set goals. A healthy human has goals and has lists of things to get through. A healthy human doesn't just sit on the toilet all day contemplating its navel. Tends to imply you're unhealthy if you're sitting on the toilet all day, but I just meant, like not doing anything. A healthy human does do things. It cleans the house, and it does jobs it likes and doesn't like. It doesn't just do all the jobs it does like and try to get other people to do the jobs it doesn't like doing so much, although that can happen. It does the jobs in order for survival to happen, but it maybe doesn't make its life so complicated, but it does things, it wants to do things, it feels inspired to act, to create, to be creative. But it's for nothing. It's for nothing. It's totally meaningless. Nothing is going to get you there. Nothing is going to make you arrive. This is everything. This is all you ever wanted. What's happening? No matter what it is, in the humility of washing the towels, in the humility of hanging on the line, in the humility of cooking your dinner, of cooking somebody else's dinner, of cleaning the fridge, of getting annoyed as you try to work out some online banking technique or buy Bitcoin. Not that I'm giving any tips there. Actually, that's not the one to buy. The one to buy is, I've forgotten how to say it, Ethereum. I've forgotten the name. Ethereum, no. Ethereum. Ethereum is the one to buy, more than likely. But I'm not giving advice. You have your apparent free will that can choose to do it or not do it. But whatever you do will be predestined, because you don't really have free will. And it's got nothing to do with me saying it or not saying it. It will happen or it will not. But yeah, let me just take that back, because some people take what I say very seriously with the investing in digital currency. It is a very volatile market, and I'm not recommending it. It's just an incredible price at the moment. Yeah. I send you love, Stanless. I don't know how to pronounce your name, Stanless. Yeah, I wish everything well. It's good that you may be there sorting things out. Thank you, Lisa. Lots of love. Thanks, Conrad, for your question. Hi, Vedios. Hi, Lisa. Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Vedios. Hi, Carmela. Convinced. Hi, Asush. Hi, Lisa. I have 2 questions, if that's okay. I feel like one thing that's holding me back is that my desire for comfort is stronger than my desire for truth. Whenever good things are happening in my life, I fall deeply into ego and have no desire to remain as awareness. However, it's only when things are going bad that I start trying to escape the bad feeling with truth. Do you have any advice for this? I know that I will never see truth unless my desire for it is stronger than my desire for comfort. 2. For people who are suffering from depression and anxiety, do you think such things as antidepressants can help relax the body and create a more sustainable environment for awakening? I don't know about the awakening part, but from what I understand, research, but I don't know how true this is because Western medicine is very crazy, is that it's got some good parts to it as well. But also some of the stuff I read and hear about, I don't know if I believe, but from what I understand is that when your brain stops, when you become depressed and your brain stops producing serotonin, it's very hard for you to activate it again. I believe you can through thinking and through better lifestyle choices, but often they recommend that you have to go on antidepressants to kickstart your serotonin levels again. But I don't know about it too much. I think it's something you need to investigate and feel into your body. I'm certainly not opposed to it, but I'm not pro it. I don't know. And I think it's an individual choice and it's what you feel. I don't think it helps or stops anything. Thanks for that question about antidepressants. What was your other question? Yeah, that's okay. So when you're ready to start seeking enlightenment or start seeking it for truth, then you will. And while you've got the desire for comfort, then you will, and that's okay. That's no biggie. It's just the way it is. That's okay. You don't need to beat yourself up or feel bad. It's just what's appearing. That's the destiny of that particular object or that particular body at the moment. And when it wants to be different, it will be different. And it's nothing to do with you. You can't make yourself want things differently. It's like, who's writing those wants? Like sometimes in my life, I know that if I behaved differently to the way I'm behaving, my life would be easier, but I can't force myself to behave differently or do things differently in certain moments. I can inform myself, I can inform the instrument, the body, of better ways to do those things, but I can't force it to behave that way when it comes to it. It behaves the way it does, and that's the karma of these bodies, and that's the way it is. And the best thing that can happen is total acceptance of the karma of these instruments. That they have their wants and desires, and that's the way it's going to manifest in life. If you want comfort over truth, then that's what will manifest. That's the beauty of it in a way, is that it happens, like what you get what you want, but just who is it that wants these things? And there is nobody there that wants them. They're impersonal wants that are arising, appearing as if they're personal. But you certainly get what you want. I really believe that what it is the human desires, the human gets. But you cannot control those desires. You can look at them and explore them, and that might change them and recondition them, but you can't really change it in the moment. You just can't. If in that moment you've got an aversion to being around someone, you can't talk yourself out of that aversion. That's what's appearing. And you could maybe override the body, but internally you've got an aversion to being with them, and that's what appears. You can't suddenly say, "I'm just going to reprogram myself." Blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay, my aversion towards you has gone. If you get reactive to a certain person, you can't stop it. Maybe something in you stops it, but it's just the way it is. And then if you hit back with anger, then more than likely they're going to hit back with anger with you too. And in a way, you want that. You want reactivity because that's what's appearing. If you go deep enough into it. When on the human, when I was reconditioning myself, and I just would like to inform you, if I haven't informed you enough times, I always value myself on, or I value my character on being as honest and open as it can do, but I am certainly not a perfectly conditioned person. I have faults just like everybody else, and I don't think there's anybody that's a perfectly conditioned person, and I respond from patterns in my childhood, difficult patterns in my childhood, like giving you an example of, I can't think of one now, but so this is one I've told people many times. Is I was dyslexic and I had a very difficult time at school. I was always in trouble because I couldn't keep up with the other kids in my class, and I couldn't remember how to spell things. Even if I'd spent more time learning it than the other kids, I still couldn't do it right, but I'd still end up in trouble. And I can have aversion to paperwork, and I can have aversion to things that remind me of being in school and the education system. And that aversion to it will bring those things towards me. Like, in a way, it's ironic now that I'm the teacher, like I often am teaching people. But that will bring things towards me, like you get what you want. And I in some level, I want to be dyslexic. And I am. And that is real humility, to see that in yourself. Like, in some level, I wanted to be dyslexic, and I wanted to have those experiences that I had. And that's really owning something, like really. And I respond out of difficult conditioning that came from dyslexia, being at school and having difficult interactions with people. And I respond out of that with people sometimes. And that's the way it is, and that's the way it'll always be when you're acting from these bodies. You get this imagination that one day you'll become enlightened and you'll never react from your past conditioning, and you'll be this perfect human and everything will be everybody else's fault. And when you're in an argument or a disagreement with someone, you can say, look, I'm enlightened, I don't act from my past conditioning anymore, everything is your fault, and I take no responsibility. If you have any reaction to the way I behave, it's because of you. I'm enlightened and I have perfect behavior that only comes from God in this moment, and isn't a result of any difficult things that I've had in the past. But it's not like that. You still behave like your character behaves, and my character had all these years in the education system, and it behaves from that in certain ways. It's a lot better, and it's a lot more aware of itself, and it's not reactive or traumatized like it was, but there's still this want to have difficulty around reading and writing and paperwork, and I get paperwork wrong, and I pay the price for that. Like, and you guys think when I say dyslexia, it's not bad dyslexia. I had very bad dyslexia. So this is like, you'll find this funny, but this is my everyday. And it's amazing that I have computers that can help me function now. But so the other day, so I've seen Sanskrit, the word Sanskrit written so many times. I've been in this subject since I was 18 years old, and I'm now 38. So that's over 20 years. And I've seen the word Sanskrit written so many times. And I was with my friend, and I was typing into the internet because I was trying to show them something in Sanskrit. And I put SAND script. So sand and script, to look up Sanskrit. And it came up with these letters in sand, actually, in the sand that you find on the ocean. And my friend was laughing. And no matter how many times I see that word, it doesn't stay in my brain. I don't look at a word and think, that's how you spell it, and that stays in my brain. It just doesn't. I can look at a word, and I can even now go away and practice the word Sanskrit and practice it, and then learn how to spell it, and then in a month's time I'll have forgotten it. And then when somebody asks me how to spell Sanskrit again, I will be in the same situation. And this is constant, like with really small words. And then I really think if I stopped writing, I would stop being able to spell altogether. I can't, it just doesn't naturally come to me. And the same with speech. I forget how to say words. Like, if I actually could remember all the words that I've learned over the years, I'd sound like an encyclopedia, because I read, I educate myself loads, but I can't remember the words. It's just part of what happens here in this instrument. And if I don't have a computer and I have to fill out a form or do something for someone handwritten, I cannot spell at all. And there is something in this instrument that wants that, and wants that conflict with paper. And that might never change. And that might always be a conflict in this instrument. And I cannot reprogram it. It will be reprogrammed when life decides that will be reprogrammed. I can put effort and open myself up, which I have for years. I did dyslexia training at school. I did extra education. So I can open myself up. I can open myself up to letting go of it. I can look and I can explore the dynamics around dyslexia, but it will only change when it's willing to change. And maybe it has benefits that we cannot see, because maybe my lack of attachment to words and the lack of attachment to think, which then goes into thinking, has actually helped me in this path. So maybe my want for it is actually a positive thing, but it does cause conflict in my life. Like it has caused lots of conflict. Like I don't have confidence to just write something to someone. Well, I don't really care actually if it's a personal person, but if it's for business, then I often have to get someone to proofread it. So for my work, I used to employ somebody to check everything I did. I still do that, but I don't do it as much because I do it sometimes. Yeah. For my other work, I definitely employ someone to go over it. So what was I talking about? I forgot what the question was. I have to go back to the question. So it's like the human, there's no control over that level of things. Like it will happen when it happens. And just that total surrender to what these bodies are, and that you don't need to be perfect. And you certainly don't need to be perfect. You can be difficult. You can have really difficult conditioning in this body, but you are this presence. You are this, what is. It's got nothing to do. They're not relatable. Often I talk about reconditioning because a person needs to settle. If it's always like, so when I was a kid, I used to fall into, or when I was younger, I used to fall into hopelessness a lot with my dyslexia. And that doesn't really happen now, but that used to get me into a lot of mental seeking and suffering. And that fell away. I examined that and that fell away. But when it was happening, I was so lost in the wave of that suffering that I couldn't hear that you are this moment. Like it was not the person that hears it, but it was so noisy with me that you are this. You are this. This which is experiencing. This which is everything and no thing. Dan, greetings from Cornwall. Hey Dan in Cornwall. Hey Spectre. Hi, quitting my job feels like relief that leads to expansion. Yeah, because it's an experience that you're having, and you think it's to do with quitting a job, and you might have the spiritual story like, oh yeah, I've let go of all these things through the job, but it's an experience. Like in your job, you felt tight and contracted, like so they were treating you in ways which triggered old things. So say you're in the job and your boss speaks to you in a certain way and it triggers certain things, and your body it can't just happen. So the boss says to you, oh, you did that wrong, and then there's an identification and suffering around what that person says. You really don't want them to say that, and it doesn't agree with your identity, and there's no ability to let go of it. It's not you letting go, but there's an attachment to it, and then you over time get more and more locked into more and more difficult dynamics at work, and you think that the work is the problem, but it's you that's the problem. And then when you quit it, you feel like, relief. You don't have to see the job boss anymore. You don't have to be that person anymore. You're free. And then there's this opening, and then you think, yeah, it's quitting the job, but it's not actually quitting the job. That doesn't mean that you stay in jobs because of that's not the answer. Like, you need to find your natural flow. So it doesn't mean that you stay in jobs just out of fear. I'm not suggesting that, but a lot of the time the problem actually is you, not the job. Is seeking the result of resisting? Seeking, not necessarily resisting, but it's seeking. Seeking is this energy that's always looking for completion in the future, and completion is this moment. So you could say seeking is also attachment as well. Like, in the sense that it's attachment to a future idea or a past idea, to your sense of being. I'm just looking on YouTube and I see a message from Tonya W. Tonya. Hi Tonya, it's very nice to meet you. Thank you for your message. And hello Australia. I have such nice feelings when I think about Australia. Hi Sichananda Brahma. Lisa, I do not know English, but listening to you, my heart is filled with love and joy. That's nice. Thanks. Sachinanda Brahma. Andrea D. Lisa, my consciousness can be in the now a few times, but explain me, dear, why I lose it. The ego returns, the horrible me. Because you think it's your consciousness that's in the now. How do you know your consciousness is in the now? There's still a divided mind that knows your consciousness is in the now. There's something else that's here that's beyond any mind recognition. So in that, you may be having awakenings, or you may be recognizing something beyond yourself, but your mind is still divided. It still thinks that it got something. There is nobody to get anything. I wonder what's the point. This is from I don't know who. I wonder what's the point of even explaining if it can't be intellectualized, because it's energy. It's energy. You think speaking is just about words and the intellect, and that's such a narrow perspective. Everything is energy. Haven't you noticed when you're around people, you feel different energies? When you're different circumstances and places, there's different energy. It doesn't mean that one energy is more enlightened than another, but when I'm speaking, there's an energy of this emptiness, this knowing of this non-division. It's like an energetic sense. Like you begin to remember beyond you. There's a book called Cutting Through Spiritual Mainstream. Okay. Nice. Maybe that's enough for this evening. I really need to go to the bathroom. I think it's better I just leave now. Vamoose, unless there's any urgent questions. But I shall see you, if not, I shall see you on Sunday at 6 p.m. French time. And thank you so much for sharing this. I love to speak about it and speak with you. So, yeah, thank you for your questions and being vulnerable. Lots of love. Bye.